Today on The Journey, Central Valley Soccer Success Stories, we have Anthony Velarde. Grew up in Reedley, California, went to Reedley High School, played at Fresno Pacific University, played at Fresno Fuego, and now is a current professional player for the Pittsburgh RiverHounds of the USL Championship. Anthony, how you doing, man? I'm excited to have you here. I'm looking forward to hearing about your journey and the impact that you will have on many of the Central Valley players as an inspiration. And you're already a high school coach and you've already given back to the community, but I'm excited to hear about your journey and from the beginning to where you are right now. So how you doing, man?
Doing well, just trying to survive. I came back home, so right now I'm not in Pennsylvania, but just trying to get through it.
Yeah, of course. It's tough times, but thank you for being here. So just to get going, I want to hear a little bit more about like what are your first memories of the game? Like when you think about soccer, what's the earliest memories that you have?
Well, I mean, I was born in LA, in the LA area, Whittier. I was just there with my immediate family, and my I just remember most of the time my dad would always take us to this little small park, like I think like 2 minutes away from our apartment. This is literally just random. It's right next to a main street. And we just go and play. My brothers, I have an older brother and my younger brother, Eric and Christian. And my dad, we would just go and play, just kick the ball around. I think we were maybe 3, 4 years old, super young.
It's crazy. It's crazy how like back then you're just having fun and not really realizing what you're doing, but subconsciously you're like falling in love with the game, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's a different kind of feeling you get when you're just playing the game, playing what you do, loving what you do, and
Yeah,
it's different. It's different than when most people feel.
of course. And for the people that don't know, you come from a soccer family. Like your
Hmm.
dad loves soccer, all your siblings play soccer, and that definitely had an influence on you playing the game since a young age, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you see my older brother start playing here and there, starts getting into like little random teams, and then obviously you start wanting to do it. You want to be like your older brother and stuff like that, and it just keeps growing.
Exactly. So speaking of that, who was your first like inspiration, your first idol of the game?
I think it had to be. I mean, when I started watching soccer, it was actually pretty late in my when I was getting grown. I was like maybe like 13, 14. I started actually watching the game. I just literally just played just because I enjoyed it. I never actually watched the game how I
Mhm.
watch it now. And I think just watching, obviously, you see the top players like Van Persie, Messi, players that are more left-footed. I don't, I'm a huge fan of the left-footed, obviously, because I'm a left-footed player. But right-footed players here, there's obviously quality players, but people that I would see, it's all left-footed. I mean,
Right.
just
But
name them.
that's an interesting point. So you try to find the connection between the type of player you are to the type of player that you could get some inspiration from.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think that's one of the main things that I've started watching just YouTube videos of players highlights, all these other things, just trying to replicate one little thing that I could from
Yeah.
every type of player. I mean, you try to I think everybody at a young age tries to
Yeah.
replicate someone and does whatever they do. And I think I mean in every stage it's funny to see it, but you improve by just watching, seeing what they do, and you try to replicate those kind of things.
Of course, it's definitely part of the journey. So going back to still in that early stage of your development, what did you remember that you loved about the game? What was it?
Man, I loved just getting the ball and dribbling. I love scoring. That was the main thing. I mean, I think being able to just the feeling of scoring a goal, I think that's what just took over it was a different feeling. It's so different.
Right. I agree. There's so many ways you can fall in love with the game, but
Hmm.
I mean, knowing you personally as a player, I know that dribbling is something you could tell when you dribble the ball that that's something that you love, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is something that I worked on. I
Yeah.
wasn't very good. I knew I loved it, but I wasn't very good at dribbling. I wasn't very good at being a technical player. I had a good left foot, striking stuff like that when I was growing up, but I never had like technical abilities that I obviously where I have now, just because I worked for years on those kind
Of
of
course.
things.
See, that's a very important point. Like you had a love for it and a passion to the work behind it, and the combination of those things has made you in the player that you are today. That's very cool, man. So this is all like the very early start. So when did you start playing like competitive, like club soccer, where you started developing your, the next level of your development?
Well, I mean, in LA, I wouldn't say it was competitive. I mean, it might have been competitive. It was a small club. It was a club called Cruz Azul. I don't even think they're around anymore. But it was just small. Like, it's like a small like outside club. It wasn't like a big club. And we played there a little bit. I mean, I would say it was competitive. I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of that, like the coaching. I was too young, I think. But then when I started actually getting competitive, is when I went obviously to Clovis, start playing for the. I think it was Odyssey. That's the only club that was around during that time. I was obviously South Valley was around. CV something CVU CVS. No, it's the I forgot what other club is. They were a red uniform, but they were a big club. Revolution wasn't there, but I played for Odyssey, and that's the time where I actually got pretty competitive. Where I was like, okay, I gotta actually put time and work into my
Right.
craft.
You started recognizing you were playing against certain players that were just as good or better than you, and you had to work hard for the level.
No, yeah, I mean the thing is when I started playing club, I was overweight, so I was like, I was easy like 20 pounds overweight or 25 around there. I was pretty big, so I wasn't playing a lot. My coach never played me. I was just like a bench player, just a little chunky player that was good up with the ball.
How
I
old
could
were
hit
you
the
at that
ball.
point? Just to put in perspective for everyone
So
listening.
I was in what grade was I in? I was still in elementary school. So I was at the end of my elementary school. I was going into middle school, which is probably what
Yeah, you were about 10, 11 years
10,
old.
11 years old. So I think I was more 11. More
Okay.
more 11, 12 years old. I think that's when I was obviously in the overweight. I barely moved from LA to Reedley, California, where I stay, where I have my hometown. I call it my hometown, and those were that was that little shift. I didn't play any soccer. I just gained weight, and then my parents followed. I think like a couple months later, put us into the club, and from there I played there. I think I played for Odyssey. I think until I was 16,
Yeah,
17. So I was there for a while.
that's great to hear though, because a lot of people think in order to become a professional soccer player or a record breaker NCAA player, you have to be a star from the very beginning, and that's not really the truth. Like
No,
you just said,
no,
you
it's,
started
and
and you
that's
were a role player and you had to work your way up.
no.
That's
I mean, I think I think that's one of the main things that people don't see. They see the success now, but they don't see the struggles of being neglected in a way of not really cared for. Because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't at the level that obviously the coaches wanted me to be. So they didn't pay as much attention as to me as they did to others.
right.
And but the thing is, it was more of and now it came from inside of trying to just work my tail off to prove them wrong and to prove myself that I could play at that level.
Yeah, but to be fair, like that experience back then almost prepared you for the next challenges, because we all know that soccer, the higher you go, the more difficult it gets, and the tougher you got to be mentally to just keep on working and keep on getting better. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
so to a certain extent, it's you got to be thankful that it happened early. So
Hmm.
you've been working in that for a very long time.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I've gone through a lot of tough times in the game where I've decided if I should even keep going or should I just try something else, just for the love of the game and the love because my brothers were always. It's something always made me stick to the game and I always wanted to just keep improving. And I think I don't know. It's just my parents. They did a good job of engraving to never give up in whatever you decide to do. They didn't care what we did, but I think my dad was happy we chose soccer, but I just I they don't see the struggle, and I think even when I went into Fuego and stuff like that, we can talk later on, but those are the struggles that I could talk about.
Yeah, yeah, for
even
sure.
in and even in after that first struggle when I was barely 12, 13 to now when I was 17, 18, 19, still struggling. And
Yeah,
yeah, I was doing well in maybe a couple years, and then just it hits you right. Just that's the world.
the struggle is a part of growth for sure.
Hmm.
And like moving on from there a little bit to Reedley, your high school, because I associate you with Reedley. I
Yeah.
think you're one of the best players, if not the best player, to come out of Reedley, and proudly so. You've worked very hard and
Hmm.
you've made your mark. And I remember you coming out of high school, or I was at FPU when I heard that Eric's little brother, who had broken the Reedley record of
Hmm.
goal scores, and you were a goal scorer, that you were coming to FPU, and I was super excited. But tell me a little bit about your experiences of that transition from being a superstar in high school to going into a 4-year university where you have older players and deal with other type of lessons.
No, yeah, I think that's probably one of my biggest transitions just from going from high school to college and even going through the whole process of college. But just going from high school, going from obviously being the best, one of the best players on the team, we had a couple of good players. And I think I was the things, even when I was doing that well in high school, I still had so much to work on. I had so much flaws that I had in my game. I had so much just bad mentality. I had a lot of growth I needed to do on the ball and mentally. I needed to grow so much, and I didn't know that at the time. I thought I was this hot shot, and I think the like the world, it kind of somehow turns around and hits you in the head. And I think just obviously the speed of the level is just it goes up. It goes up in a different way where now you are playing at a very very slow tempo compared to what your teammates are playing at, and then you have to adjust to that speed of play or you don't play. And I think obviously going where I was scoring every game, doing all this stuff at the high school level. Now you're trying to replicate that at the college level. I went in super confident, thinking it was gonna be this like piece of cake, and obviously it didn't turn that way. I struggled. I believe I did struggle very a lot my first 2 years, and I think my first year was for sure growth. My first year was tough, but the thing is, I also had very good players around me that, just like yourself, Alvaro, my brother, to look up to, other players that like Joao and stuff like that. That I learned some pick stuff up from all of you guys, and I think that that was a huge transition. And I think that's one of the biggest transitions that I've had. But the thing is, I have the help.
Yeah, and like that, I remember because I lived that. You know, I saw you, and I would try to help you with what I could. But it's fascinating how, you know, towards the end of your high school, I mean, towards the end of your college career, you were the leader in the country in assists, and you
Hmm.
broke records, and you were an incredible player.
Yeah, man.
I had a lot of fun watching you play, but so people think of that, but they don't really realize you went through injuries, you went through surgeries, you went
Hmm.
from being on the bench to playing not as much as you should have. Because I mean, we always believed in you, but you had to go through all these different adversities before you became, again, an all-American player, and a player that will be forever in the record books, because it's going to be really hard for people to break those records, you know. So it's admirable how much you improved mentally, and it didn't let you didn't let any of that stuff bring you down, but it elevates you. And I have to give you a lot of credit for that, because I witnessed it, and it's not easy, you know. So then I have a question. What would you say about that, about your final product in college when you were just dominating the league in comparison to the beginning? What would you say was the biggest change in you?
Well, I ask myself that question a lot. I mean, what is it to to keep improving? I'm thinking like, what do you need to do to keep improving? Because I mean, I went through that my first professional year. I mean, you go through like what are you really gonna do to improve yourself? Like, what else can you do? And you just literally, it's the basics. You just got to keep doing it, and to follow. I just ask me your question again. Ask me your
Like
question again.
from the beginning, from the Anthony Velarde who showed up in 2014 to Anthony Velarde who broke all the records, what would you say was the biggest change in your game? Like,
I think mentally, I when I was young, I had a lot of fear in messing up, and I was always afraid to mess up a play or to not do the right thing. And I was a perfectionist. I wanted to do everything perfect. If a ball wasn't cutting the grass, it wasn't good enough for me. And I think it was good, but it also hurt me because I was very negative, and I would always get very frustrated with myself, and then it just killed my game. And just growing from that and learning that in games people make mistakes, even the top players make hundreds of mistakes every game, and they just need to move along. And once I figured that out, I literally just trained, and even when I was wasn't in my A game, I still, or even when I was too tired to do anything, I would still push and push and push, and I just keep trying to just keep in my head was just be the best
yeah,
version I can be the best person that I can be on the team, and just try to be the best player on the field was my mentality.
yeah, and you were, and we all saw that. And again, I think the work ethic also that your brother Eric instilled in you, because he was remarkable in how he worked and approached everything. So you had good people around you that guided you in how to behave, and it was very impressive. So then, okay, FPU, you know, you became one of the best players to ever play at FPU, if you ask me. And you had the experience also Fresno Fuego, which is, tell me about what are your thoughts of Fresno Fuego and your experiences, what
And
it was, everything.
I just it's crazy. I mean, I go from, I think when my first year at Fuego, you got, I think it was your first year. I think it was your second or first year there. I'm not too sure. But I went in there just going in, seeing what happens. I think Scott Alcorn was the coach still there, and I was a practice player my first year. Um, I just went with you guys, trained. That's it. I didn't do anything else. Just trained. My that one was a huge. That one was hard to deal with during that time of just, you're not good enough yet. You're too young, and you just have to train and train. And I was doing that for, I think, like 2 months. I think I did that.
Hmm.
Probably the hardest part of my career so far, of just, knowing you're not good enough and knowing you still need a lot to improve on to even get to where these other players are at. It was super tough. I mean, I always had to talk to my brothers. I had to talk to my parents, just going through that kind of stuff of being not really cared about because you're not good enough.
Right. But
So I
again,
just,
to your credit, a lot of people in that moment say, oh, I'm not good enough, or the
yeah,
coach doesn't like me, I'm going to stop coming. But what did you
that's
do?
that's
No.
the thing. And a lot of people, that's the deciding factor. Is I'm done with the sport. I don't know. To me, it was, like I said, my parents always instilled not to, don't give up, just keep working, and eventually with enough hard work, it pays off. And I've seen that so many times. I've seen, even when I'm playing bad or not having a bad few weeks, I just have to work even harder until I come back. And that's just in my brain. That's what I did in Fuego. I mean, I just worked. Then the next year, which is my second year, finally got in the team. I was a player. I wasn't still one of the main players. I don't even think, I honestly personally don't think I had any a successful PDL career like most people, other people had. But I think just me keep grinding and just trying to grind through those, and having little successes here and there, but a lot of fails during those times,
But
and
that's
just learning experiences.
sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like that's a misconception. You know, people think that it's only a success if you become best player or if you're in the best 11. Man, part of that success is also those lessons, because those lessons are worth so much of,
Yeah.
of working and not giving up and playing with better players and starting copying little details of their game to make your game better. Like it's impressive.
No, that's for sure. That's the thing that I just sucked everything in. Like I became a player that just sucked information in. I try to replicate things that people were doing right. And I think and obviously I had a bunch of players to look up to. I had a lot of players that have played outside, and I had players like you, like Milton. I had players like Alvaro. They even played. I had other Gaston when he was there. I learned the worth ethic and stuff like that. There was a ton of players that I just picked a little bit here and there. It's like just like a sponge, and I was obviously a lot younger than most of you guys. So I just kept working and kept sucking in, and then eventually I started reaching the level where, okay, I started now my third year in Fuego. I started playing a lot more. I started starting even games, but still wasn't at the level like at a top level.
Yeah.
But I learned so much just from those years that I already knew when I went back to college I was gonna kill it, just because I have grown so much from just playing at a higher level, playing with all the players I knew more, and I just brought that back in college. And I think that's why I was so successful my juniors and my senior year, just because I got smarter. I think I just improved mentally. I honestly didn't touch the ball for 3 months, a
Yeah.
little here and there, and I came back. Yeah, it was so crazy. I came back just clear minded, knowing what my role is and what I need to do on the field, and just knowing that I just came back with the dog mentality where I was in anybody that was in front of me I was gonna beat. And I don't know, it was just maybe going through the surgeries that I went through, and just made me into a different player. And then obviously when Fresno U23 came up, played there, a little bit of success at first, and then it just went. Obviously, you know the story. It just went. By the end of the season, it was bad. But I mean, those PDL seasons are something that I always think about. I mean, I even watch videos still, just here and there when I have nothing to do. There's the videos, there's clips on YouTube that I just go and watch my games, seeing how different I played then to how I play now.
Yeah, but it's a, let's touch on that though. I think it's a very important topic to touch, the importance of watching yourself play when you can, and analyzing what you could have done better, what you do well, what makes you feel good, and you start connecting the emotions of what you felt in the game to what you see on camera.
Hmm.
Right? What do you have to tell me about like watching yourself in video and how important that is?
I think the first thing is, even for the kids watching, I mean, I know it's super hard to watch games that you know you played bad, or you know you messed up, or you know you did something wrong. But those are the games that teach you the most. Everybody loves watching. Oh, I scored a goal. A great pass. Yeah, you learn from those because you see what you did right, but you don't. Then you need to be able to see the negative part of your game and what the things you need to improve. And I think that was the hardest for me. That's why I never watched myself, because I would just it was just something that was cringy to me because I knew that was
Yeah,
horrible. I didn't want to watch it, but it's something, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of kids out there that
yeah.
feel the same way I did. I mean, they
I
don't
felt
like what,
I still feel the same way. There's still
yeah,
some
you know.
games that I struggle
No,
with.
I do the same thing. I do the same thing. Even my pro games, I feel so nasty watching what I did, but I know I need to watch them just because it's something that I improve on. But you just you see the game so different. Obviously, you see it at a different angle, and you see different options. You see, okay, maybe I should have turned there. Maybe I should have just played simple instead of forcing the pass. You know, those little things that, yeah, they're small details, but those small details could move you from being a good player to a great player.
Absolutely. So speaking of professional now, we've kind of gone through your journey all the way till um, right before, where it's that difference maker of, are you going to go to the ultimate professional level, or are you going to just call it a day? And if you would have called it a day, that would have been great too, because it would have been a great journey up to that point. But at what point how old were you when you in your head, you were like, you know what, I'm going to do everything I can to become a professional soccer player?
I
Like,
mean,
not thinking
I was,
about it, because as a kid, sometimes you may think like, oh, I want to play in the Premier League,
yeah,
but I'm talking
yeah,
about when
yeah, yeah.
you were like, no, no, I'm going to do everything I can to become a pro. When was that?
Honestly, I think it was when I went. I think after my freshman year. I think after my sophomore year. I think that's when I knew I was good enough, and I knew that if as long as I just keep working, there was a chance. I honestly never knew for sure. I mean, I always had doubts, maybe not, but I knew if I keep working, eventually we'll see how where I'm at with my senior year. But I just got to work.
You gave yourself the chance, you gave yourself a
Hmm.
chance to work hard and believe and hope. You can't control those things, but at
Hmm.
least I'm going to, get focused and put the work in. And that, I mean, at some point, if that's what you want to do, you have to make that decision. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah. No, you got to make it a full time job. You got to make it. It might being a soccer player, even if you're not a professional, it's a full time job. Even if people don't think it is, you have to watch what you eat. You have to make sure you're staying hydrated. You have to make sure you either go out on the field, or if you can't go out, get some exercise in, and then that still continues all day. Okay, after I gotta make sure I'm eating right, make sure I'm drinking water, make sure I'm doing this. It's a full time job in my opinion.
Yeah, you got to rest. You can't be out there about all day
No,
doing what you want.
yeah.
It's true. So that's very interesting. So then, how did it become? How did all these moments in your journey connect to you becoming a professional soccer player?
I mean, I think combination of obviously the love of the game that you grow up, and you obviously honestly sometimes during that journey you lose the love of the game, and you have to figure out a way how to get that back. Or some players don't ever get it back, and there's players that just that quit. But then you find ways to win that back, and I think that's when I knew I love the sport. When I knew that I was struggling, and I knew that I still wanted to go out and still put in the work and just to improve. That's what I got when I was in my youth level, and I carried on that. And then I just literally had a dog mentality of I'm gonna work every single day. Every single day I'm gonna do something that's gonna improve. When I need my rest, I'll take my rest, right? But when I was younger, I didn't know anything about rest. I trained every day, killed my legs, which is not good.
I
But
remember.
I would just overwork myself, and until I learned about being able to, okay, if you're gonna work this hard, you gotta make sure you take some breaks to give your body the ability to regenerate and do what it does, recover and go back again the next day and work harder. And I think and I learned so much about soccer, my diet, my mentality, what kind of mentality to have to be a champion, and not a champion, but just someone that wins. Because honestly, I think the only thing I won in college was when we won the league. Everything was individual, and I mean that's something that a lot of people know. They think I've won when I was in youth. I used to win a lot. No, I was in academy. I was getting killed every week in and week out. I was getting destroyed. We were getting destroyed in the Odyssey Academy teams. Like I took L's left and right. Like people don't know how much L's I actually took when I was in the academy. It was
and
suffering.
and that's a very interesting topic, because it's a huge controversial taboo topic in youth soccer, because everybody thinks you need to win a lot in order to become this great player. And
Mm-hmm.
again, you're a living product of that. You are one of the few Central Valley players who are professionals right now, and your youth experience, you took L's left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
Yeah.
it's what you make of the wins or loss, right? Because if you're winning a lot, but you're not really reflecting on those wins or improving, it can actually hurt you even more.
No, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, people, the players here, they can see when they're watching, they can see what players are good now when they're 12, 13, 11, whatever. The youth age. What players are good, and out of all those players, which ones are going to be good when they're 19, 20, 21, 22? Like, what players are going to still be able to maintain that high level that they're at right now? And the thing is, not a lot of people retain that level. A lot of people talk about, oh, this guy was so good when he was younger. Oh, this guy was a baller, all this stuff. But then they don't go past even to college. And I
Yeah,
think that's one of the main things where people need to understand that part, where it's a tough, this playing soccer and trying to make this a living is not as easy, as not even close to being as easy as people will make, what they make it think.
exactly.
It's
Um, yeah. So now that you're a professional, you play for the Pittsburgh RiverHounds in the USL Championship, which again, it's an amazing league. Pittsburgh, it's a great city. You guys have great fans, great facility. You guys won the regular season last year. Um, Tell me about your first experience as a knowing everything we know about you up to this point. How was your first year as a professional?
Man, it's crazy. I mean, the first thing is you go from playing a 3 month season to go playing a 9th month season. Like almost a full year of just playing soccer day in and day out, playing day in and day out. You're touching the ball every single day. That's the first thing that I noticed is every single day you're playing the ball. Yeah, I think you get 2 days off, 1 day off here and there. I mean, but it's every single day. And the thing is, what I found the hardest is my coach would always want to kill me. Is I would always take my time to get into training. And he's the type of coach where you need to be ready. Like once he blows his whistle and training is ready, you need to be 100% focused. Everything needs to be clean. Everything needs to be tight. And that's one of the main things I struggle. And he'd always get on me. He'd always come and talk to me about, like, your training habits need to improve. You want to keep getting better. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I worked on it. And I worked, and it took me like 3, 4 months to finally, okay, every single day my touch was clean. Every single day my passing was clean. Every single day my decision making, I did what I made the best decision that I thought I could make. It wasn't half I was gonna say half-ass, but like just halfway. It wasn't something that, oh, I could just play it there. No, I needed to think about it. What can you do? Like it's a different mindset of boom, boom, be ready. You're on, being on 100%, 100 miles per hour. When especially when you got a coach is on you, on you, on you, which is it's tough at first, but you get used to it eventually. And then I got used to it.
Uh, I mean, I got to follow your season, and I think you were fantastic. Obviously there's some adjustment periods, and you were on one of the best teams in the league, and you still made your mark. You had very nice goals and very good moments, and again, it was a joy to watch, and a lot of people in the Central Valley were very, very proud to see you do that. So, speaking of that, your first year of experience, what do you take onto your second year? Like, what would be, obviously right now with everything going on, it's put everything on pause, but what would be your focus onto your second year, knowing what you know already?
Oh, the first thing, right after the season, and me and my agent got in a conversation, and we got in the call. We were on the phone for like, I think almost 2 hours, just talking about what am I gonna do to improve. Like, what are the things I need to do to improve? And he was able to help me out to just put everything on the table, look at all my stats. What am I good at and what am I not? And my defending was atrocious. My fitness level wasn't where it was supposed to be at. I think I had there was just I think that was the main thing, because I knew technically and mentally I knew I was ready to play at the level. I showed day in and day out that I was at the high level. Consistently, no, I wasn't there yet. I wasn't able to do 9 months of just straight high level, but I showed glimpses of months where I was out of my game. Then I dropped. Then I picked it up again. Then I dropped. Then I picked it up again. Just going through what every young player goes through when they go to different leagues, go to a different college, go play anywhere else, somewhere new. You go through those phases where, okay, you got to get adjusted. Some players adjust well, and some players take the time. Everybody's different. But fitness level was the main thing. That's what I worked on. I think I started 2 months before preseason started. Started fitness. That was my main goal. Obviously, touching the ball was just make sure you're crisp. Fitness. I went into preseason so fit. Yeah, we played our first games. I felt like I was just in a different level of the players that I was playing with. I just felt so good, so strong. I just did I just did things that I needed to improve, which were weights, running, obviously you never stop learning. I still watch games of mine, but it's so much. I could keep going. There's so much things that
Of course.
happens.
But again, I'm just trying to highlight the importance of constantly reflecting, analyzing. I mean, a lot of people could say, you know what, I had a good year. You know, let me just enjoy my off season. I'll come back and I'll do it again. Like, but no, you were like, okay, it was good, but I want to be even better, and I want
Oh
to be.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I had for as a rookie, if you look at it, I had an extremely a very good year. Like it's probably a year that you look back on it as like, damn, I mean, I was a part of a team that we won the league. I played a lot of games. I started a good amount as for being a player that was with a lot of older players, experienced players,
Yeah.
and I made my mark. I scored goals. I got assists. I mean, it was an incredible
Nice.
year as a freshman year.
You scored quality goals. It showed how
Yeah, that's the thing.
showed
You know, like
special touch about you.
and I think a lot. That's what I think. That's what the fans they love me. They because I mean they don't see a lot of players that, especially Mexicans in that area, they don't see a lot of, and especially players that are crafty that they see guys that just run through players, and strong. Technically they're good and but they're not flashy. They don't show flair, and that's why that's why I enjoy playing for Pittsburgh because they love me and they love what I do, and obviously it brings joy when obviously they come and
Of course,
obviously tell that stuff.
you feel valued, you feel
No,
appreciated.
yeah.
And that's good, man. Like again, congratulations. And there's a lot of people out here that are very proud of you and they're rooting for you and just, keep on pushing that. So speaking of all this, right? What kind of advice would you tell a young boy that's from the Central Valley that's loves the game, he's in training, he's taking L's, but he has that feeling inside of him that, maybe I can do something with soccer. Like, what would you advise to him?
I mean, the main thing is if I ever go back to myself and I actually where I'm at now and talk to my 11-year-old self, 12-year-old self at youth level, I mean, I just literally say do exactly what you did. I wouldn't change anything about what I did. I think as a young kid, as long as you have the drive and the mentality that doesn't matter how much you win, doesn't matter how much you lose at a youth level, if you work and just work and just work and just be open minded and be a sponge to just suck everything in. And it's just be open minded is the main thing. Just stay open minded. Make sure you're always willing to learn. Once you close that door and you feel like you've learned everything, is when you lose, and you will never improve it again, and you'll stay at the level of where you're at.
I love that, man, and I think that's great advice for the next generation. That as you already know, you're a high school coach in Reedley. It's there's something very rewarding about helping the younger kids, start seeing these things that for us that we've gone through our journey of playing, and you're still going. It's you get it in a different way, and you just wanna help them out, and I appreciate that, man. So how do you feel compared? You've been traveling a lot. You've been seeing kids from different parts of the country play. What would you say about the style or the level or the Central Valley soccer scene? What would you say about it?
I mean, I think we're for sure we have a lot more flair, a lot more creativity, and just being a lot like just loose and just being a lot of just being creative. I think that's the best word I could put. Is just being creative, doing things that other players don't do. And I think that I see a lot of that here. A lot of technical, just like Hispanic kind of like style of play of just always wanting the ball to feet. And where in other places, a lot of them is just technically they're good. But the thing is, they're very close-minded. They're very just I got as long as I receive a ball, I pass it,
Right.
and I'm good. There's no flair. There's no like I'm step over, bring it back, pull it back. This it's just I correspond with the I just in my mind the in the valley we just have creative players, people that have flair. But the other issue is that we have players that are don't work enough hard enough to reach that level. There's always pros and cons
Of course.
in every area, and I think I would like to see more of a just drive of players that are grinders. And I've seen some. There's some that I've trained with, and because I go train with some players when I was in the off season, and I see grinders, and I can tell which players are here to put Central Valley on the map, or they're just for show. They're just here to play the part until they can't play the part anymore.
Exactly.
And I think that's just that's the main thing.
I love that, and I can agree with that. It's the there's something unique about the Central Valley players, and I believe there's a lot of talented kids and a lot of talented players that have played, that are still playing, and that are going to play, because
Mm-hmm.
you can see the younger boys that there's a lot of kids with
Uh,
potential. Now it's learning from people like you who have done it, and understanding how difficult it is, and understanding how much work you have to do. Because without work, and I don't mean work like let me just run 2 miles because I need to run 2 miles. You have to think about,
no,
connect the dots. You have to understand, like you said about your analysis of from first to second season, what is the areas that I need to improve. But at the same time, you got to make sure you keep on working on what you're good at, right? Because if you don't do what
mm-hmm.
you're good at,
No, yeah, you have to. Like I always tell people, like left foot or when they're trying to work on their opposite foot, I tell them, would you rather have two average feet or would you have one dominant where that's your main foot and have one that's good enough to do the passing, the dribbling, the controlling, the basics. You don't have to be doing these scissors, those little crazy snakes with your opposite foot. Like, as long as they can do the right things and your left foot and your right foot, whatever your dominant foot is, the magician, then I feel like that's, in my opinion, that's a lot better than trying to just work on your opposite foot and trying to make it the best passing foot you can make it. It's trying to, I feel like if you improve your dominant foot, and I've always told people like that, if you can improve your dominant foot to be at the highest level and reach your non-dominant foot to at least get close to or at least halfway, I think you're going to be golden.
I agree. I agree. You have to work on your strengths. If you don't work on your strengths, you're just going to be average. And man, I really appreciate your time, your desire to share your journey and to share your insights, your experiences, your disappointments of the game, because I
Yeah.
think it's important for people to recognize that it's difficult, man, and the journey is hard, and you have to be, like you said, a grinder. If you're not willing to grind and go through the roller coaster of
Mm-hmm.
soccer, this game is not for you if you
Yeah.
want the objectives that you've reached.
No, yeah. I mean, that's one of the main things is, can you train for months at a time, or are you a seasonal trainer where you train a little bit and then I'm good. I trained a good amount. I'm gonna take a week off and then I'm gonna go train again for another couple of days. I'm gonna take. I've seen so many players like that, or players that don't even train. They just whatever. But then they still have the aspirations to be professional. I think without hard work and without actually putting the time to do it, you're never gonna go anywhere. And there's no way you're gonna be able to achieve anything without putting in the work. And that's what I've from my whole career, I've learned if you don't put the work in, then you'll never ever succeed. And I think you can take that information or that part of, and you can literally transfer it to any part of your life.
Of
And I
course.
could take I'm gonna take this to when I'm done playing. I'm gonna do this and continue it to whatever I decide to do after soccer.
And that's the biggest lesson that you'll have, that
The
no matter
biggest
what
lesson.
field you step in, whether it's you being a parent or you being a professional off the field, you have to take it with that approach of constantly working, constantly improving, constantly becoming a better version of yourself. And for me personally, it was an honor and a privilege to play with you. I'm very thankful to have done it. I'm very proud of you to see your development, and I'm curious to see where you're going to end up, because like I said, a lot of people have a lot of faith in you, man, and keep doing your thing. Again, I appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch. Okay, Chulito?
No, bro, for sure. And then just one thing before I go, I mean, I played with you in 2 years when I was in college, and so many things that I learned from you. So I mean, if any players that you're coaching, anybody that sees this that uh that that is watching from your club or from stuff like that, I mean, just be open minded, absorb every information Renato has for you. I think that's gonna be the biggest thing because I learned an enormous amount of information, just soccer, and even I grew as a person just from listening to you and listening to your wisdom. And I think most of the players around you are lucky to have you, and they should feel blessed.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And again, best of luck. Keep on working hard during this pandemic time. But we are looking forward to following your season once we get back to business. Okay?
Sounds good.
Sounds
Sounds good.
good. So